about spring fever. I don't know about you, but I know at my house and around a lot of the houses here, spring fever means clearing out clutter, cleaning the closets and garages, and finding new homes for some of our old things.
That's right, Lori. And a while back, Jerry Paulson told us about such an occasion.
Several years ago, I conceived a plan to give all my workshop tools to a stranger when I got too old to use them. My wife doubted it was a workable idea, but she humored me as she had for 50 years. This was the year she knew it was going to happen, but I hadn't figured out how. I wanted somehow to keep the tools together and give them along with my memories to the new owner. In the best of all possible worlds, the new owner would be one of my children or grandchildren, but none of them had the inclination or the space for them.
Well, you could put an ad that reads, "Free tools" in the Herald Tribune.
I thought about that, but I worried somebody would just take them and sell them at the flea market. I wanted this to be about more than money. These tools, they were family. Some of them belonged to my dad, his stepdad, his father-in-law, my great-uncle. There's a chisel set my parents bought me when I was in 9th grade.
Maybe you should put your tools up for adoption.
You know, that's not a bad idea. So I started making a list of the characteristics of the guy who would get my tools.
He'd have to own his own house with enough space for the tools.
A one-car garage might work, but a two-car garage would be better.
A folk basement will be best.
He should have some training or experience in using power tools.
And most important, the guy should be young. So the memories might live longer. So fellas, who fits this description?
I was good up to the young part.
Not me. I was too young.
I asked some of the folks in my continuing education group, maybe they had children or grandchildren, but I was met with blank stares. Then I ran into my pastor.
So I hear that you're looking for someone to give your tools to.
Yes, I am. I didn't know you were interested in woodworking.
It's not for me, but I know of a few guys who might be interested.
Well, send them over. Well, one by one I met these guys. The first one was too scattered, and the next one wanted to sell them. The third one didn't know what half of the tools were used for. By the time I talked to 10 of these guys, I realized my plan just wasn't meant to be. I decided to call Goodwill, but then I had a surprise visitor. It was a 20-something woman wearing jeans and a UT sweatshirt. What can I do for you, young lady?
I'm Cindy. Pastor said you were looking for someone to help you in your workshop.
Help? Is that what he said?
He said you were a nice old guy who loved tools and stories and wanted to share them.
Share?
Sorry, I don't remember exactly what he said, but here I am. Can I see your tools?
Yes, you may. Come right in.
Wow, this is a cool shop.
Do you have experience in woodworking?
A little. My dad always had me help him in his shop. Oh, you have a dust collector.
What do you know about dust collectors?
Oh, they have a big one in the shop at the high school, but I expect they work the same. I'm in college now, Northeast State. I'm studying computers and business. I don't know what I want to be yet. I also work nights as a nursing assistant.
Impressive. I never knew what I wanted to be either.
So are you really going to give all this away? Don't you have any kids to give them to?
Yeah, I have kids, but they're either not able or not interested.
Well, that's hard to believe. With these tools, a person could build their whole life, whatever they wanted. Oh, look at this chisel set.
My parents gave me that. I went on to tell her the stories behind all the tools, and she was a good listener.
Tell you what, I'll take them. I have my own house, a real fixer-upper I inherited from my uncle. It needs a lot of work, but someday it'll be really nice.
I thought about it a minute or so. She was not what I pictured in my original plan, but there was something about her. So, Cindy, do you know how to use all these tools?
Some of them, but I guess if you want me to have them, you'll also want to show me how to use them. I'm a real quick learner.
I remember teaching my kids to use tools. Those were great times, and I miss them. So I asked her, "You're serious?"
Sure am.
What are you doing today?
Nothing until 6 o'clock.
Well, Cindy, I'll show you how to line up the blade on this radial arm, then we can saw some boards for practice and talk about our next step.
Sometimes we can organize and plan all we want. If something else is meant to happen, those plans go out the window.
That is so true, Leon. And here's another springtime story about that very thing. I was having my hair styled at Trio Salon. This was when I was working pretty regularly in Chicago. My friend Thor was my stylist, and before I left that day, he told me about a new huge change that his life was taking. He sold his share of the salon, and he was just working there now because he used the money to invest in making a dream a reality. He had designed a line of watches. On the face of the watch was the word no, to know. And it had a little K, but a capital N-O-W, like know now. Well, he designed men's and women's versions, and it came in 4 colors. I was so touched as I was leaving. He stopped me and he said,
I feel I need to give this to you.
It was the green watch. I slipped it on my wrist and began wearing it in place of my gold watch that my kids had given me. The green watch didn't match a lot of my outfits, but I wore it anyway. It reminded me of my college days and my favorite class, medieval literature, with Dr. Miller. We studied Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and Dr. Miller lectured how the Green Knight could not be overcome. Green was spring, the symbol of rebirth and healing, and cannot be stopped. He was speaking to a class full of green students, and I remember how young and invincible I felt back then. I hadn't thought about that class in years. Within 2 weeks' time, I'd be reminded of the power and hope of the Green Knight each time I looked at my new watch. I began looking at it often, marking time between my appointments. But my next appointment would not be with Thor. It would be with my oncologist. Cancer is what old people get. It's what sick people get. It's not what I get. I guess there are young cancers too. Mine seemed to be. It was fast and aggressive and advanced in a few weeks, where most cancers take months. A worthy opponent for my 29-year-old body. I worked with my doctor trying to figure out how to stop it, cutting at it again and again, surgery after surgery, but it kept coming back. And the operations were as invasive as the cancer. The anesthesia made me so ill and so tired I didn't have the stomach for food or the strength to eat any. And I began focusing on the face of my watch, and I had almost daily appointments. I began counting the time between each doctor visit to coordinate the next plan of attack. I was planning in that time instead of living in that time. Planning for the moments to come when I would feel better, or when I would go to an appointment and be told I was cured. And then one morning I woke up and I looked at my watch to check the time. I'd overslept and I knew I had an appointment, and fearing I'd be late to hear the latest test results, I searched my watch to see what hour it was, and I checked the minute and the hour hand, but was it 8:30 or 9:30? For the first time I realized there are no numbers on the watch. I looked at it again. I hadn't remembered there not being numbers. I always knew the time before by giving it a quick glance, but this was no quick glance this time. For the first time, I truly read that message. Well, before I had read what I thought it was telling me, numbers. But there are no numbers. There never were. The only thing that has ever been was no now. I called and rescheduled my appointment. I spent the day sitting on the beach watching the James River Bridge open and close the drawbridge and letting ships through. Didn't matter that it was drizzling off and on all day. I took the day for what it was. After that, the message became a command, not just a reminder. I wore the watch everywhere, including to my appointments, and I carried the reminder with me. Know now. Know this moment, and be present to it. I realized right now may be my last moment, and I didn't want to waste it worrying and wondering about another time and a future that may not exist. I wanted to spend it at peace with the people I love. And in these moments, I am the Green Knight, invincible. Even as cancer battles away with me, new life is emerging from me every second. I am alive now.
Thanks, Jules. And thanks for that message. Know now. I hope as we all begin to spring ahead with all the things that keep us so busy during this time of the year, that we remember to be mindful of the moment, appreciate where we are and who we're with, and everything around us, to know now as much as we can.
And now, it looks like all the time we have for our show tonight. We'd like to thank Rockingham Road for joining us.
We'd also like to thank Crest Point Health for their generous support to make this program possible.
And of course, the makers of parsley, that smooth, easygoing flavor that enhances every meal. Sprinkle it on or garnish a dish.
It just tastes better with parsley.
If you would like to come to be a part of the live studio audience, we perform the fourth Monday of every month at the International Storytelling Center in downtown Jonesborough, Tennessee. For tickets, call 423-753-1010.
Tonight's show starred Jonathan Baker, Summer Buchanan, Don Devin, Vivi Berger, Mike and Lacey DeVilla, Phyllis Bobosi, Stephen Goodman, Aisling Hagan, Marcy Hawley, Skip Jones, David and Dana Keys, Sarah Luttrell, Deb Montanti, Lori Olmsted, Leon and Pam Overbay, Nancy Ray, Mary Ann Reed, Katie Rosalowski, Tiffany Saladino, Clara Joseph Winkler, Audrey Wolf. Tonight's show was written by Jules Courier with Leon Overbay, Aisling Hagan, and Jerry Paulson. Original music by Heather McCluskey, accompanied by Brett McCluskey. Sound engineer Mike DeVilla. Thank you.